So without further ado, we're going to go ahead and hand it over to Kathleen Grace, who's going to be moderating our panel. And enjoy and learn stuff.
Hi guys, my name is Kathleen Grace. I work for YouTube. Specifically, I work in a group called the YouTube Next Lab, which some of you may or may not know. We're a group within YouTube that is entirely focused on discovering the best practices for YouTube and telling people about them. We were acquired, our company that became this group was acquired last year. It was called Next Networks, which some of you may be familiar with. So we run a bunch of internal channels that we learn from, and then we do workshops and training and events, and we help support partners as they're building their channel on YouTube. We run all of the YouTube partner events, and now we're very excited to be partnered with the IAWTV. One, because I'm a member. I feel like I'm Alcoholics Anonymous. Two, because we think it's a really great organization, and that people who are trying to build a brand online should be working with YouTube, and we think the IAWTV is a great support network for that. So let me introduce some of our panelists. We have, I'm moving my right to left, that's far away closer. We have Olga K. She is a very popular YouTuber, does a ton of sketch comedy, and she's been around. How long have you been on the platform now?
Since 2006. And I'm speaking weird, I'm sorry, I have stuff in my mouth.
And she has 490,000 subscribers and over 3.6 million video views on her channel. This is going to start sounding like a baseball team stat. Is what is? That's what I pulled up your channel today.
It's a 39-something million.
39.6.
Yeah. Oh, 39.6. Okay, I thought it was 3.6. I'm like,
no, 39.6.
Step up my game,
And next to Olga, we have Brittany Louise Taylor, another longtime YouTuber who has 895,000 subscribers and 127 million video views. Right?
Yeah, I think that's right.
That's awesome. She also does a lot of sketch comedy. She has recurring characters. One of my favorite is Emo Girl. She hasn't done enough really.
We're gonna bring it back.
We're gonna bring her back.
Yeah, gonna bring back the edge.
And then next to Olga, next to Brittany, we have Aaron DeBois, who is the head of programming for Machinima. Yeah. Which is a network of YouTube channels, including the big mammoth Machinima, as well as a whole group of online or video game content. They're getting into the world of scripted content and really original programming, and it's a really exciting company and one of the biggest players on YouTube right now. And then on the other side of him, we have Elle Walker, whose channel is called What's Up Elle, and she has 86,000 subscribers and 7.5 million video views. One of my favorite YouTube channels, and she was working with Next Networks prior to being acquired. She does awesome editing and sketches, and you guys should definitely check it out. I think Jenny did a really great job picking our panelists today because they're a breadth of experience with YouTube, but also I would say that they represent something that I think all of you guys can relate to. Just for my own information, you are all members of the IAWTV. How many of you are producers creating series? And how many of those series are scripted, what you would consider a scripted series? And how many of those series would you consider serialized? Okay. So what I think is great about this group of panelists is they're all people that are consistently producing scripted content, really shaping their channels, and have some really great tips specifically for what you're doing. So I want to talk a lot about kind of how they came to be what they're doing, how they define success on the YouTube platform, and kind of what their best practices are, so that you guys can take away and kind of learn how you can take your series and put it on YouTube if it's not already on YouTube, or if it's on YouTube, how you can make it easier to discover and find your audience. Are you ready, guys? This is going to be really intense. So I have just some starter questions to get us starting, which is, one thing I want to ask everyone. I kind of ask everyone this when I talk to them about YouTube, which is, how do you define success on YouTube, and what do you consider your first successful video? And Aaron, I have a different variation of the question for you.
So
the ladies can go first.
Okay.
I'll start first. How do I define it? I think I've been on, well, first of all, I've been on YouTube since 2006, and it was the beginning of YouTube when nobody knew what YouTube was all about, and you were trying to figure out what you can do on YouTube and how you can, I guess, gain audience and continue doing it. Within 2 years, I realized that it could be business, and slowly start turning into a business. So defining my success, I guess, is finally realizing that this is my job and that's all I do on YouTube. And how can I turn that into a successful job where I don't spend 12 hours a day working and, you know, making $1 a day, I guess, for my hard work. So I guess once I realized that this is the only thing I do on YouTube, and that became my job. And what was the
what was your first most successful video? Your first big?
I always consider myself one of those YouTubers that never had one, you know, viral hit. It's always been a gradual growth on my channel. So I've never had a huge video, but I would say 2 years ago when I redesigned my channel and reconsidered doing different things, which was sketch comedy, and I figured out how to connect to my audience, is when my channel started to grow. And it's been growing ever since. But I don't have that one special video that put me on the map or anything.
Brittany?
I think I really thought I was successful when I could pay my rent.
Yeah.
That was huge for me. Like, not doing extra jobs and like I'm just living off of my income from my AdSense. That was wow. But first successful video, it was a video that I made that was more a collab video, and I just found out my dad had cancer, so I made a video that was like very inspirational, and I had a couple of my friends in it, like Shane and whatnot, and it got 5 million hits like within a couple weeks. It went crazy. So, but I think it was cool because it wasn't so much about me, it was like a message. So that would be my first successful one.
Elle?
Yeah, I have to go with them and saying earning a living. And I'm a new mom to a 6-month-old baby girl. And so for me, to be able to work from home is more invaluable than I ever imagined it would be. And then on more of like an artistic side, I think just being able to create content that I think is very quality. You know, I've been doing this channel for just over a year, so I don't have as many subscribers yet, but you know, I've been asked to consult, and you know, I've been able to work with great brands and gotten to know you know, people within the marketing team and working on that level. And I think for me, it's like, okay, people are taking YouTube seriously, and I almost feel like I can be in the workforce to a certain extent.
Aaron, when you guys look at, well, what was your first successful, like your first big channel on Machinima? And then when you see a channel you're working on, when do you feel like it's tipped over to a place where you're like, wow, this is like a healthy channel?
Well, Machinima, the main channel was the
biggest one.
Yeah, the biggest one. Still is.
Still is, right? Yeah.
And the tipping point happens. I think it depends on the type of programming you do. So we, you know, when we looked at Machinima for gaming, it was very specific on kind of what was going on in the gaming industry at the time. So obviously you follow the release patterns of games or the release patterns of movies and try to ride their wave a little bit. And we programmed. We really looked at it as a 7-day-a-week job that said, okay, you need to deliver a video every day, and then it grew to 2 videos a day and 10 videos a day, and now it's 70 videos a day on that channel, which is a little bit, it's a much different model that most people do because of the way that YouTube system is set up. It's actually a little bit, I think, frustrating for our subscribers to see 70 videos coming down the pipeline every day. There's nothing we can do about that, but it's actually been quite successful. But on the other side, there's an interesting phenomenon going on. Most web companies, if you see huge growth going on from a number of uniques or a number of video views happening, usually your engagement per user goes down, right? So you look at AOL and you'll say before they were as big as they are now, or MSN, their number of views per unique were higher when they were smaller because you can be more targeted with your programming. So it was easier for us in the beginning to get lots of views on less videos. But what happened is we channelized. So we started saying, okay, well, the shooter audience is not the same as the massive multiplayer audience, or is not the same as the sports audience. So we started to channelize and realized that we were getting more views per unique as we started to focus on different niches of programming. And now we're up to 3,000 channels where our views per unique went from 5 when we started in 2007 or 2008 to now 10 10.2 because of the absolute focus of each channel and the affinity towards the consumer watching that channel. So,
what's the narrowest focus you have? Would you consider, like, what is the nichiest channel?
well, I mean, like even this narrowest focus is just a very specific, like guns.
Yeah.
Right? So that's done really well for us. Or
first-person shooter games.
yeah, or I mean, not as broad as, and again, we focus on 18 to 34-year-old or 14 to 34-year-old males, and really try not to go away from that at all. And looked at every piece of content we put up with a lens of a gamer. So a gamer very aspirational towards content that's more fantasy driven and more removes yourself from the world than if they would look at Entourage and say, I don't really want to be in that world, right? That's not for me. So yeah, there's the niche, like FPS Russia for us, that's really a niche. I went to his backyard and shot with him. There's not much going on, but but it does really well. It does 25 million views a month.
Great.
So yeah, it just has to strike the right
you have to find the right niche that works.
Yeah, and stick with it, right? Because then your audience gets used to the, okay, every 3 days they're uploading a video. And,
it's a Russian guy.
Yeah. Well, he's not Russian.
Russian.
He has a fake Russian accent.
I don't know if they all know that.
He's from New Jersey. I'm not allowed to say where he's from. He's from
interesting. So, ladies, I hate to be like so gendered. Name, I guess, your top 3 things that you think led to your success on your channels. I don't know who wants to go first.
Hard work, like not quitting. I think it's really like you're gonna have points where you're like, why am I doing this? I'm putting all my money into it. Like I was eating the same food every day so I could buy a wig. Like you can only eat so much almond butter before you go get a wig. So I think, yeah, and then also too, I think it's a very social site. It's not like when you just go and you put a website. It's very much like I would leave comments on other people's pages and respond to every comment because the theory that 10 people tell 10 people and those 10 people tell 10 people. I literally almost got carpal tunnel from responding to every single comment and message for a year. So it's really what you put into it is what you're gonna get out of it.
Yeah, and I have to agree completely. It's hard work. Like I said, I did it for 2 to 3 years, but no money behind it, and I was doing commercials, so I was getting the money from the commercials, and I was putting it to YouTube because for some reason I believe something is gonna come out of it. Hard work, and I used to do this thing where I would go to people's pages and I would leave a comment saying thank you for subscribing every time somebody subscribed, and I did it to at least 180,000 people every day, maybe 1,000 people a day, and it was the same problem. My hands were hurting. I was hiring people to do it. It was just, but you put a lot of work, and I think the third thing is connecting with your audience. There's so much content everywhere. And it's great, amazing, but it's not connected to your audience, so the audience doesn't respond. They watch it, they like it, they forget about it, they don't come back. So if you connect to your audience, I think that's when they keep coming back.
Yeah, I would definitely just piggyback off that and say that making them feel special and unique. So they're like the Ellegiance, my viewers, and so I give them an opportunity to vote on everything, ask them as far as storylines go, what they want to see next. And then as far as success goes, collaborations have been really important for me too, and I know we'll probably discuss that. Moving quickly over a year, because I gave birth, and I don't have time to maybe do like all of the comments to the viewers, so it's been really helpful for me to network offline.
And how many of you guys you've done collaborations? Obviously, for Olga, we've all done collaborations. Yeah. I think I just watched your interactive game.
Oh yay!
I used to say yes to everything. Like every collaboration, even if it was, as long as I wasn't taking off my clothes, I was like, okay, like if you want me to play Eve and some really weird script, I'm in. Like, because you never know what you never know what they're thinking in their brains. So you can't always like look at the script and sometimes it turns out really cool and surprises you. So I just didn't turn down anything.
And I did the same, only I took a lot of my clothes off, and it also.
She's Russian.
No, it's accepted. No, but yeah, same here.
And who do you think? I'm going off on a tangent a little bit here. Were your best collaborators? Like, what do you think qualifies as like, wow, that channel was really great to collaborate with? Like, what do you think drove the most subscriptions for your channel or views for your channel?
My Key of Awesome video is like the gift that keeps on giving. Yeah, I love Key of Awesome, and they asked me to be in this video, and I was actually away. I was going to be in San Francisco, and I changed my flight because I knew, I was like, this is going to be good. And so that was like a Bruno Mars parody, and that's driven the most traffic.
Probably, I don't know if you guys knew who Shane Dawson is. Well, he had 8,000 subscribers, and I had 12,000 when we became friends. And he's like, do you want to play this like emo character? I'm like, yeah, what do you want me to say? Okay, cool. And then we ended up doing the sketches, and they blew up in the videos we did together. It's like, it kept feeding to me. So honestly, like, I wouldn't be anywhere without all the videos that we did together.
And that was even when you guys were relatively small.
Yeah, I mean, he had less subscribers than me. We would just, like, if things were, like, you know, broken on the site, no offense, like, if there was something, I'd be like, hey, like, is the, I was like, is the share button not working for you? He's like, yeah, and I'm like, usually I don't meet strangers, they seem cool, so I was like, let's go meet at 3rd Street, and then we ended up making videos together, so it was, I think if you find other people that you want to work with on the site, I think it's more fun. So if you're having fun, people have fun watching.
And for me, I would also say Shane Dawson as well. I did a first collaboration with him 2 or 3 years ago, and he started to grow, and that was my biggest one. And I've noticed that since that time, also collaborations don't work as well anymore because there's so much content out there, and people are so picky who they're gonna pick to subscribe to. But it's probably also he has very loyal fans.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's the most interesting thing is getting someone who has really loyal fans.
Yeah, and there's some people that have
who may not have 500,000 subscribers, but they have 100,000 really intense subscribers or 5,000 really intense subscribers.
Yeah.
Aaron, when you work with a channel on YouTube, as you kind of start working with them in Machinima, what is your first piece of advice for them? Like, what is to make them grow their subscribers more, to find their audience? What do you think was your first thing?
Yeah, I think that there have been a lot of examples. First, we try to point out, you know, really good examples of channels that have done well on their own. But we really try to figure out, really the advice we give is more of a collaborative discussion about how do we get them to quit their job. So it's the ultimate, I mean, it changes the game. And it's what, you know, the three of them have just said, which is, we've seen, you know, Reckless Tortuga is a good example.
Yeah,
they were, you know, were working at AOL at the time, and we provided enough financing, and our model has always been, we'll pay you more or enough to get you to do that, that you can quit your job, and then we say, okay, now what, right? Now that you're gonna have 24 hours a day to be able to think about this and do this, and we really focus on 2 types of talent, which is a little bit different than the typical model, which is everyone both in front of the camera and behind the camera, which is kind of a unique twist to maybe what that everyone else is doing, but that in that case, Reckless is both, right?
Yeah,
so
they're
they're
and they shoot in.
yeah, and they're great filmmakers. And Rooster Teeth is in this crowd here that they've proven it from the start. But really, the first piece of advice is get enough time to dedicate to do all the things that we just talked about. But then, even when I remember it was just Machinima and I was 4 of us, you know, working on that channel, every minute of every night, I was looking at every video, seeing what the comments were, commenting back, you know, doing all the things that you would do as an individual, even though I was never on camera, and probably that would have been a terrible idea, and so that, you know, we really did have a team that just obsessed, right? And when you say, it's about obsession, and so it's really not any one thing, and that's why a lot of people go, oh, well, what's the trick? There's not really one trick. It's about, okay, subscribers are important, comments are important, likes are important, favorites are important. Facebook's not, for us, has not been that important. We were talking about that today, and we're gonna, I don't know why that is, but, and, you know, the collaborations have been important to an extent. We also said the authenticity of the individual has been really important, so it's kind of like, we talked about it a second ago, MTV, when they did Unplugged, right, you felt like, even though you're watching from your television, there was an authenticity, you know, that you felt connected to that artist much more so than if you watched major concert events, right? So one of our first big hires was this guy Hutch, who was working at Olive Garden at the time. He just happened to be a fanatic Modern Warfare player, and we said, okay, we're going to change your life a little bit. So we said, like, stop serving the breadsticks and come over here. Move to LA, and he did phenomenally well. But it was because one of the things we always tell everyone is be honest with your audience about who you are. If you're in front of the camera, there's a different side to it. If you're a filmmaker. Yeah. No, but we've had a situation where, and this is kind of an interesting story, where there was a kid who had sent me an email and said, Machinima saved my life, right? And I go, I didn't know what it meant, and he said, you know, can you call me? So I called him, and he said he was in, depressed and suicidal, and was in an institution, and we didn't know, but he was doing gaming videos, and we had paid, we gave him a contract. He started to be able to earn a living, and he all of a sudden came out of this depression. He felt really great about himself, and I said, you should, I know this is probably hard, but tell your audience if you want, right? I didn't pressure him, but tell them what happened, and see what happens to the video. And the video got, this is someone that had 5,000 subscribers, and it got 16,000 likes, and it was like all super supportive of what he was doing. And you've seen the same thing happen with filmmakers, like Mortal Kombat was done by a 26-year-old film choreographer who had never done action before in his life, and you just saw the audience get behind someone like that because they just wanted that person to succeed more than they cared about, Ridley Scott succeeding or Warner Brothers succeeding.
It's relatable.
Yeah, exactly. So there are a bunch of little things in there. There's no one thing.
Yeah. So last year, the Next Lab, right after we kind of launched, created something called the YouTube Creator Playbook, which is at youtube.com/playbook. It's a 70-page, approximately, PDF of all of what we see as the current best practices for YouTube. And we're constantly, I think we're in version 2 now, maybe in the middle of creating version 3. We're constantly revising it, giving new examples. The site's always changing. We look at people like the panelists here and we see, okay, this is working, this isn't working, and we try to update it and put it onto a book and keep revising it. In that book, we talk a lot about how you program a channel and how you think about when you post and how much you post and how you talk about your programming schedule, and how you plan your videos according to kind of tentpole events. And just all of the ideas of how you have to be really strategic with the videos that you place on your, upload on your channel. What I wanted to ask you guys is how far ahead do you plan? Is it, I know what I'm going to be posting in 6 months, or I know what I'm going to post in 3 months, and then how do you make those decisions?
I'll start. It just depends. If you know something is big coming out in 6 months, like a video game, and you want to write a sketch around it, then you start thinking earlier. For me, it usually happens, I upload something once a week. So I see, okay, in 2 weeks I want to make a video that, let's say Lady Gaga is making a music video, and I want to do something related to that. So that way it will gain me more audience that never seen me before, because they'll be searching for the same thing. So I try to plan in advance, and it's a 24/7 process. I think I drive around and I think, oh, this would be good because people are talking about it right now. Angelina Jolie, exposed her leg, so something has to happen. So you start planning around the things that you hear all day long. And so yeah, sometimes it's a week in advance, and sometimes you think 6 months in advance. It just depends how well you follow the news stories.
Yeah.
I think I kind of do whatever I want. No, but I mean, there'll be, let's say I did Hunger Games parody, because one, I'm a diehard fan of the books, so I saw the trailer, and I'm like, oh my god, I can do something with this. And then I did something that week, but for me, because I have my cameraman's in the audience, hey Joey. So I usually, when we're filming, I edit all my own videos, so a lot of times I can't plan that far in advance because I don't have someone helping me, and I'm doing all the work. I'm writing it, I'm producing it, I'm casting it, I'm directing it, I'm editing it. So it's it just depends. I know if certain movies are coming out, then okay, cool. But I think the key is to pick a day or days and make sure that you're consistent with that. Because if you miss a couple, people just kind of like your favorite TV shows when they're wait, there's supposed to be a new episode this week. They'll forget about it for a while and be like, oh, what are they up to? So you have to be really consistent with YouTube. I upload every Saturday.
Yeah, it's more important that the video is perfect or that it's posted.
But I think that it's never going to be perfect. For me, yeah, there's always going to be something going back that you wish you would have done differently, or you would have picked up a different shot, or like, oh, why didn't we get? I knew we needed a wide. Why didn't I get a wide? It just feels everything feels enclosed. Like you're never going to be 100% happy with it, but that's why it's fun.
Yeah. Val, how far in advance do you?
Oh, usually a couple months. But I haven't had the best of luck planning around, especially political events for some reason, because I think you build it up in your head that I'm going to be right up there with the search terms, and then, you know, as far as the search and SEO, and then for some reason it never pans out for me. So I have more luck just kind of like sticking, like Brittany said, to doing my own thing.
Yeah.
With the exception of holidays. Which is just fun for my viewers to get into like a holiday, and it gives us a parameter because you have to come up with something every week, so it like gives me something
rules
exactly to work with. But you know, and I think too, I am a big quality person, so I do.
You would pick perfect ever posted.
Oh yeah, and then I got off schedule a little bit in the last couple of months, and I see that happening. That it's like I never post because I'm waiting for it to be perfect. So I think definitely have a deadline, because there'll be those moments of spontaneity that will happen, and maybe that's what, you know, is your successful video. You never know.
Yeah. And Erin, do you guys think about that across? I mean, you have 3,000 channels. Like, do you have like a master? Like, I imagine how I picture your office is that there is a giant whiteboard with like a grid, and you're always thinking about that.
Yeah.
Like, maybe it's Minority Report style.
No, you see my hair. It looks like a fourth grader, like, you know, coloring a book. But no, we definitely. I mean, because if you think about networks in general versus channels or programming brands, we started as a programming brand, as a single channel that we absolutely had this ingrained in our heads of like going around events and Super Bowl and Christmas and what's good for the gamer at that time is obviously different. So Valentine's Day is usually massacre stuff, not, you know, dating stuff for us. And so we were very programmatic about kind of, you know, what are we going to do? We plan the whole year in advance, and then we plan every quarter in advance, every month in advance, and then have at least enough bandwidth to do something that's every day that's different. And now across 3,000 channels, we're doing that same thing. Although not as much, we typically have people that are, the channels we've worked with are program. They sometimes they don't know it, but you know, like the FPS Russias, the Rooster Teeths, the Reckless, they're professionals. They're for sure know what they're doing. And when they don't post, they see the drop off and the drop in check, you know, the amount of money they're getting. And of course, they'll figure that out. And we do have a. It depends who you are. If I were Rooster Teeth doing red versus blue or something, that I would go over quality over posting. But if it's gameplay oriented, right, you go just posting. And one of the things we taught the head of entertainment for us was he used to take 6 months to do every project. And I said, you need to fail a lot. That's like one of the big things we try to just say, accept failure. And try a lot of at-bats, because YouTube at least gives you that opportunity. If you go to NBC and you fail a lot, you're not going to have a lot of shots at it. Whereas here, we've canceled thousands of shows on our own network, right? And so you just have to be willing to do that. And so we post a lot more to go, okay, well that's striking chord, and how do we change that? Because otherwise you're wasting a lot of time. And then the YouTube environment changes so dramatically so often, so you're like, oh, I get the SEO strategy, and then 6 days later that SEO strategy changes, and so you got to be posting all the time to just stay with it. Otherwise you fall behind. So.
All of you have mentioned SEO or referred to it indirectly. How much does I don't know how many people know what SEO is, but search engine optimization. How much does search engine optimization factor into your creative process?
I always put hot. That's always a good search word. So that's like, there's certain, yeah, I'm not calling myself, I'm just saying, like, it's a good search word. So but, like, I mean, like, just write like, you know, if it's about Valentine's Day, like, breakup, relationship, like, anything that you could possibly, that people could be searching for that would, you know, and make sure it's like Valentine's. You probably know more exactly.
It's in the playbook.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, I think it's important.
Yeah. And do you pick topics that you know people are going to search for?
Sometimes.
Titles, yeah. I think we all play with titles a little bit. Because, like, yeah.
And I usually take Brittany's tags all of my videos. I'm kidding.
Hot.
Hot. I say hot 3 times, so my video pops up, you know, higher. But yeah, and I usually try to use GoogleTrends.com to see what people are talking. Yeah.
Whoa.
Take that. GoogleTrends.com gives you everyday searches, top searched on Google. So you use it, and hopefully you can incorporate it into the video, so nobody's upset that you use that in your tags. So, Al.
Oh, well,
Yours tends to be a little more esoteric, I feel like.
Yeah, it's a little more out there. I'm like, is anyone searching for like clones, babies, like, yeah. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, maybe. But yeah, definitely with when I do my music videos, that's for sure. I mean, if you can get in the top of the front page on the Google search for like a Lady Gaga video, for instance, like that happened to me and it was great. It's like an instant 2 million hits.
And Aaron, what is your kind of take on it? I mean, you have very specific.
I could probably talk about this for 4 hours. I've really studied it. We have 7 people dedicated. That's all they do all day is business intelligence around search engine optimization. And
wow, you want to do a whole chapter?
No. I would be giving our playbook away. No. It's actually extremely important. And there are 2 things to really think about. One is search engine optimization, and the other one is the recommendation engine for YouTube, which are 2 different. I mean, I guess search engine optimization is this form of recommendation, but you know, at the end of every video, they show you 6 other things you could watch or 5 other things. That is become a huge driver of traffic. It wasn't necessarily in the beginning the biggest driver of traffic, and they've changed that algorithm not that often, once recently. But you've got to be, the title is really important, but also everything below it is really important, all the way down to the file name has become
That's the
important.
thing people don't realize.
And so it will say, like, for example, I mean, Margaret would preach this, I think, which was you want to fill all the space to a point. I mean, you could fill it all with really bad search terms that have nothing related to your content, and your content will actually get pushed down from a recommendation perspective. So if you start to say hot and
When
you're
you're
not, but I'm saying that, but I'm just saying, but it would literally look at that and go, well, what happens is people will click on it, all of a sudden you're not, and they won't finish the video, and therefore it will stop being recommended as a video to watch. So if you try to trick the system, it will penalize you for that. But there are also some other things to think about, like thumbnails. We find that, listen, it's a visual medium, right? This is absolutely video based. So if you just have a random thumbnail that's picked by, you know, the 3rd frame of the video, there's no context. Whereas every single video we post has a custom thumbnail, and so it's clear that someone can say, forget the description. They're not going to read the text. If you ask Eric Schmidt, he'll say text is going to be dead quite soon. It's all going to be video based. It's got to be visual. So
I mean, what I say to people is if you're not thinking about your thumbnails, it's like putting out a movie without making a movie poster.
That's right. Yeah,
Never.
for sure. And
We
so,
actually film. Like when we're going, we're like, okay, the image is this small. Like let's get some shots in closer. Let's make some expressions. Like if there's supposed to be a fight between 2 people, let's get the shot, like a shot, so we can turn it into a thumbnail. Like we actually film footage and just grab a still.
Yeah.
So.
And even I guess it's not recommendation, but I'm sure you guys do like at the end of the video, what are you recommending, right, for other people to watch? So Freddie W does this all the time, right, where he shows different, and then you put in actually moving images, right? So parts of the next video you should watch, and then annotate a blank annotation around it. Those are way more effective than some red box that says watch my next video, right? And then just because people are expecting it's a visual medium.
And
it's
they
not
get a
Facebook.
sneak preview.
That's right. So there's a ton of stuff to learn there, and it's just a lot of trial and error. But we've seen, I'll give one example and stop.
Yeah.
We had a trailer recently given to us by Paramount, G.I. Joe trailer. We were asked to do 1.5 million views in one day. And a lot of it has to do with what we call earned media, right? Which is really about likes, comments, favorites, all the things that you could say are engaging metrics, right? Versus just getting views is one of them, right? But if you went out and bought views, right? Just say I went out put ads everywhere and said, watch this, and you just got views, it wouldn't get ranked, right, really well. We ended up seeing that we did 4 million views in the first day, and another 2.1 million just came from, and we talked about this story, but people that were not logged into YouTube and on the homepage, because YouTube had to recommend something that was at that time popular and getting a lot of engagement, right? So it wasn't a search engine recommendation, it was a what is happening right now recommendation. So it's not all about just finding the right key terms, but it's also finding, like, how do you get into the different places on YouTube that will drive traffic, which changes, like the homepage changes all the time, right? So you don't know, but I think it's a lot of studying you need to do, but if you're a creator, I'd focus first on the creation and making the content good, but even the best piece of content can be lost in that sea of YouTube, for sure.
Especially now with the homepage changing, it's so different. Like, there would be 2 videos per category, and now, like, there's 20 per category, so there's people have tons of options. So that's why building, like, a loyal fan base is so important, because it shows you, like, once you're not on that, like, homepage every week, what your true audience is. Yeah. I think the people that are, and that's the ones that you built from, you know, like, commenting and responding and talking to them and letting them, you know, become your friend.
That the new homepage, what I would suggest to people is that it used to favor people that, like, you'd see the same 7 people on the homepage all the time, and now, if you're thinking about it, it's favoring things that are more recent and different to give people a flavor of why do I want to subscribe to this channel or sign up for YouTube, right? And so there's where, if this is a Super Bowl and you're talking about an ad and that's really relevant to a topic that's being searched, that will get more surfaced than if your 700,000 fans have liked you again, right, for the same type of video you're doing that has nothing to do with that specific day. So I get it, it's going to change all the time, to your point, but yeah, no, it's a ton of stuff.
So a lot of the people in the audience tonight are making scripted serialized or scripted series or just serialized content in general, and that's not. I think that's not the easiest thing to build an audience with on YouTube. If you guys were building and starting a web series tomorrow, what advice would you give yourself?
Great question.
It's hard to do, but just try to be as unique as possible. Annoying Parents did that. They were the first people to do it. Not a lot of people are using some of the editing techniques that I use, and so that gets me a lot of attention. And also, I just want to note that keeping your stuff family friendly for me has been really important, because parents watch it and recommend it, and it's more sponsor friendly. Yeah.
We're the opposite.
Yeah.
Or as edgy as possible.
Is that what you really would do, Eric?
No, we do that, but.
I think if you're starting something new and you don't know how to, gain audience for your series, I think it's important. If you do it on YouTube, I think it's important to incorporate some people that are YouTubers that already created a fan base and they have a following. Bring them in, even if it's just a small role or something, and of course they're going to tell their fans about it because they want to be, part of something good. So that's number one, and number two, I think also it's again connecting to your audience. How can you connect? How can you introduce little pieces of your series where people get excited about the final product?
I think you have to figure out whether you're gonna do, split up your episodes into upload every day or 5 days a week with 3-minute snippets, do a Lonely Girl 15 thing and have it where, or are you gonna do one episode that's 15 minutes once a week? You kind of have to play with it and see. I think what's hard about YouTube is you don't have such a huge fan base that everyone's tuning in every week, so they might get totally lost by episode 5, and not go back and watch the first one if episode 5 is 15 minutes, because I feel I know YouTube's trying to change, but for me, I can only watch a short amount of time of something, so if I see something that's a long episode, I'll be like, oh, I'll go back and watch it later, and I don't.
But how much time do you think you spend on the site a day? Aside from maintaining your own channel, just watching.
I'm awful. I flip through stuff. I'll watch the beginning, the end, and skim because there's so many videos and I want to see what everyone's doing. I'm like, oh, okay, and then I go to the next one because I don't want to see.
And what makes you stop?
I think if there's something that I see them do all the time. So if it's something if you have a joke, I know that you're connecting well with your audience, but it's you need to figure out how to keep it fresh, I think. So if I was oh, I've already seen, this is just like this video. And I'm I stopped watching right away.
I think if I was just starting out too, I'm really big on like curated user-generated content. So if you're really wanting to build like even an audience of like 100 or 200, like ask people to submit videos and then they're involved, like they're in it. So the videos that have been successful for me, I like showed my audience how to do stop motion, and I got so many responses. So many people trying it in their own bedrooms, and then I like cut them together and made it look really cool to music.
Aaron?
Yeah, I think we're a little bit of a different animal on that side. Again, we're heavy into scripted series. We're moving in that direction more and more. We've seen some huge success in
Mortal Kombat.
Mortal Kombat. Yeah, we did. Last year was really a trial year. We lost a bunch of money trying a bunch of stuff, but it gave us a roadmap of how to be successful in it. So we really look at structures that are very typical, to traditional distribution outlets, so that we can make some money back eventually. So we look at 90 minutes of scripted content, 10 9-minute episodes that could be 2 44s. And I don't know if, maybe some of this doesn't make sense, but 2 44s or 4 22s. So it really could go. We did this series called Bite Me, that was a 44-minute pilot, basically, but we did it as 5 8-minute episodes. And we found that the audience was absolutely tuning in every week, and in fact wanted unfairly to us to post every day, right? And we go, you don't do that on television, but it's also only 5 minutes or 8 minutes in that situation. But we waited a whole year. So Bite Me was actually coming out, the next season's coming out on the 6th. But we waited a whole year, and when we released our next series, all people were asking about was, give us Bite Me back, right? It was like, so scripted episodic content definitely works. We did 50 million views on Mortal Kombat, and I think that's one of the best, I would say, in my mind, for a filmmaker, the best story that's come out of YouTube, not for us, for the filmmaker, where they were a choreographer, dance director, did Glee, 3D, Fame, never done action, did this, and now is directing the feature-length motion picture for New Line. And that's just because he got 50 million views. And that was it wasn't a dead property, but from a movie perspective, it was dead.
Yeah,
I mean, no one was Mortal Kombat, no one was greenlighting that. And because YouTube, thanks to YouTube and its size, they greenlit it. And so we're doing 49, and we're still looking for more talent and more directors. And we're director-centric, only just because it's such a visual medium. Although we all know writing is the key, right? Because if you look at Simpsons and South Park, those are terrible visually, right? But they're great kid shows. I mean, kids, right? But we're doing 49 scripted series this year already, greenlit, and then we're looking for more. And we want to spend potentially our goal is to spend anywhere from eventually $20 to $50 million a year on scripted in the next 2 to 3 years.
So I have 2 quick questions, and I'm going to open it up to the audience. 2 questions for you, Aaron. One is, do you accredit some of that success to the fact that you spent years building up an audience on other kinds of content and other channels? That's why you can go into scripted, because you spent the time to build an audience on Machinima first, and get to know your audience, or do you think you could have started out the gate?
I think it's both. I think we've tried to make sure that we stick to our brand, which, to your point, sometimes has not been the best thing for advertisers, but sometimes the best thing for advertisers is the terrible thing for your brand, right? So I look at MTV and say, well, God, I wish they stayed where they were in the 80s versus where they are today. And I look at us and saying, I'm happy with some of the decisions we made, building up the brand of Machinima and saying, we're not going to give you Entourage, right? We're going to give you something that's just edgier, more like Collateral, more like, Kill Bill, something like that. But that all being said, there have been some extraordinary filmmakers that have put up, and I would call it, the way we think of development is short to script, then to series, versus script to short to series. And we've seen, like, there's an example, if you look up Portal, that was done by Dan Trachtenberg, who's an amazing director. I think it was like 8 million views or something like that. He had no brand, no one knew people knew who Dan were in the industry, but was in the industry or is, but it did huge numbers, right? And it ended up being we promoted it and all that. It was part of our network, but you don't need to be, you don't need to have a brand to start that. Someone will discover you if you put something out that's really powerful. Someone will find you. We're looking. We have lots of people.
That was my second question. How do you find the talent that you work with on some of your scripted content? Is it from your channel? Is it a mix of everything?
Yeah, it's a little bit of a mix. We a lot of right now is proactive development, and so we'll go out to someone, like Bernie from Rooster Teeth, or like FPS Russia, or an FPS Russia. We look at it and say, okay, what's his show is never going to be really something that goes to maybe he's like a Borat. I don't know, but we're looking more like Top Shot, right? And you say that's really in the we call it liquidating in the window. It's never really going to probably move beyond YouTube. But we find talent at agencies and so forth, or we have 27 people that just looking at YouTube all day long, saying who's put up something unique. And we're making sure that we try to grab them before they do it, so that we make it as big as possible. We're not there to like say don't do it. We say do it with promotion, with collaboration, with find the 10 influencers, we call them influencers, that love what you do, and have them support you. I think people tend to want to support each other in the ecosystem of YouTube. If you are like Dan or Kevin or good people, you tend to want to be. They want to support others. So we look everywhere, and yeah, I think LA is a good place to be in general. But yeah.
So I want to open up to the audience for some questions. Amber?
Hi, my question is of that slate you've already greenlit, is the business model of each of those to come out with 40 to 90 minutes of content?
No, I would say in the scripted category.
Unscripted, yeah.
Well, no, because I look at it, we're calling it, it's more like prime time content, and what you would find from 8 to 11 across all of cable and broadcast, right? What would that look like? In the scripted content, yes, we're looking at 90 minutes, but like in the example I gave with FPS Russia, looking at Top Shot, right? We don't ever expect to take that anywhere else, right? So we're saying do more episodes, less time. So we're looking at like 26 episodes that are 6 minutes long, because we know that will generate more volume, which will help our scripted series, which will help, so it's a mix.
And have you sold any of those longer formats put together?
Yeah, actually went up on, Bite Me went up on FearNet last night. So it's done, we're starting to see a lot of traction there. We're also act like a network, so Mortal Kombat, let's get that straight, we didn't create that in any sense of the word. It was all Kevin, and we licensed it, right? So we were acting like Fox would, in that they or CBS licenses Big Bang Theory, but Warner Brothers really created it, right? So there's all these different types of models we have to play with just to make. If I have a network hat, I care about audience and engagement, and if I have a studio hat on, I'm sitting there saying I care about IP and ownership, and what am I going to do with it? So.
Any other questions? Screen shift.
Do you guys all do once a week, weekly shows?
More than once.
More than once? Okay. And then how long are your average shows?
My main channel can be anywhere from 2 to 5 minutes, and then on Sundays it's usually about 3 minutes. And then on my second channel, like vlogs usually take less time, so they can be anywhere from like a minute to 15 minutes.
And you post on 2 channels. How frequently?
On my main channel, it's twice a week consistently, and then on my second channel, I've been trying to do 3 times a week at least, so like Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or I mean, there's a little bit of space right now, but it's like, and they're just vlogs. So like I did the cinnamon challenge, or just like really silly things that they love, even though it makes no sense. Oh yeah, it's all right.
On my main, it's so funny because in 2009 it was cinnamon all over the place, and now it's back.
Yeah.
Cinnamon's
Keep
back.
coming back.
Look at your comments. They'll tell you what they want to see. They'll be like, and they'll thumbs up it, and they won't stop. Like once person suggests it, then you'll get like, yeah.
Yeah. On my main channel, I'll do once a week. It's the same 3 to 5 minutes. On my second channel, I'll do Monday through Friday, and it's just up to 15 minutes. And then I have a gaming channel where I upload every day, and I don't have days off. So there's a lot going on. And the second channels are also good because if you don't have time to upload content on your main channel, you can always keep your fans in the loop of what's going on. so they never forget that you disappeared. So you're constantly talking to them every day somewhere else, and they know to come back to your main channel.
When did you guys spin off your second channels? Immediately, or did you wait till they were so?
So Shane told me to, because like some of my videos, he's like, Brittany, don't put that on your main channel. Like, like the second channel. Like, yeah, like no one needs to see like a really shaky video of you going to Disneyland on your main channel. Like, stick it on your second channel. And I think it's important too because that's the side that they get to see you. And I've noticed that there's a distinction. Usually the people on the main channel are the ones that want to be entertained. Your second channel are your diehards. Those are the ones that like think, live, eat, and breathe for you. So like those are the ones that you want to be consistently making sure that you put out vlogs, even if it's really silly, because they're the ones that feel like they're your friend.
I think, well, I've posted less frequently lately, but I think once a week is the magic. Yeah. And now, like, everyone's like, clone your babies, and I don't think they want to see anything else but, like, my baby cloning.
Yeah.
But, so I did it last Saturday night. It was really fun. But, so I post, I think once a week for me is the magic number, because I think people expect a certain level of quality, and if I went down, I think they'd be disappointed, and there's no way, I don't think I could do twice. So for me, I think that's enough. The once
You
a week.
do, Ella does some pretty extensive editing. There's some extensive post-production on your videos.
A lot of like mapping.
Yeah.
You know.
Ryan.
What are your, for all of you, what are your demographics? Like, what are you finding, or who is your typical fan, what they look like, what's their age? And then also, especially for all the ladies on the panel, how many hours a day do you spend on YouTube? I mean, because I know Olga, you actually mentioned it earlier, that you actually answered the question about like the work-life balance, because you're not, I'm assuming you guys work from home or wherever, like when do you turn it off?
Yeah. Okay, so my demographic is it's 13 to 17 females, and it's 70% females and 30% males. And then there's some 18 to 25, and then random 60-year-olds. I'm not sure what they're doing on YouTube, period.
We want them to.
Okay, we want them, so that's why they're there. And as far as the hours, it never stops for me. I literally sometimes leave the house because it's good for my video. Otherwise, I would be sitting inside, editing, writing, doing something else, and then people say, let's go to an amusement park. I'm like, can I work there? Okay, fine, I'll go. And I go and I work and I record and I do something. So for me, it never stops. And I constantly drive around and talking to my friends as I'm thinking of video ideas. It's kind of annoying, really, if you're friends with YouTubers. It's really annoying. They're constantly thinking of what they can do next. But constant work, probably at least 10 hours a day. Like really sitting there doing something.
My demographic is, I think it's, even though they lie, it's a lot of 10-year-olds. It's like 10 to 18-year-old females, but they can't have an account at 10.
Yeah, you
right?
have to
Okay.
be
No, they're
13
always like, I'm really 10. They're really cute. But it's 82% female, so it's mostly women. And then, what was the other part of the question?
How much time a day on your average day?
Okay. I thought it was funny when you said like turn it off. Like, dude, we don't turn it
Yeah.
off. Like, it's like there's a joke. Like, what is the YouTube joke? Like, one video a week until you die is like the ongoing joke. Because if you really are gonna do this, and if you're doing it yourself, and you don't have a big studio behind you, and you don't have a big budget, it takes like so much commitment. Like, I don't have a social life. Like, my closest friends are the people that I work with all the time. Otherwise, I don't see people, and we kind of understand that. Like, it's okay if you don't see YouTubers for 6 months at gatherings. We're all like, hey, what's up? And it's like right where we left off, because we're all so in our world that we understand that you have to sacrifice so much to do this.
Yeah, and even when you don't post, you feel this like expectation, like
Yeah.
on your shoulders. Like even it just like you have to, and it's hanging over your head. So it kind of is a 24/7 job. I feel like.
Aaron, would you agree with that? Your demos are men, 14 to 34?
Yeah, it's 87% male, but we have 173 million uniques as of this month, so monthly uniques. So
There's some girls.
There's some girls there. Yeah, so it's almost 20 million uniques of just females. So it's kind of a weird time because we have to make sure to serve a lot of different. Obviously, the females that like what we're doing. So.
They're gamers.
I don't know. I mean, they're just we're more gamer lifestyle now, I think, than we are only about gaming. So maybe they like horror and sci-fi and hate action. I don't know.
I think they're cute. A lot of the girls on the site like cute boys. So they
gamers or not?
I'm sorry, I like the geeks. So
maybe geeks, gamer geeks are
geeks can be hot. I'm sorry. I disagree.
I won't say what. No, okay. No, but it is yeah. When we were just one channel, and it's gotten way worse. But it is a complete life sucks. No, it's completely dominates your life.
So Sandy, and then we'll go to you.
So at the beginning of when you started your channels, you talked about how much engagement you had with who's following you. How much engagement do you keep up with nowadays? What level do you find is effective, and do you feel like it's something you wish you could do more of, or?
I think at a certain point it carries itself some, which is nice, because like I remember like calling my mom and crying and being like, I can't do this forever. Like I can't respond to every single comment forever. And I'm like, I really just want to make enough money to get a laptop so I could go respond to comments at a coffee shop. Like I just want to get out of my house. But yeah, at a certain point it carries itself. But then if things start to dip a little bit, or you know whatever, if you haven't put up videos for a little while and you need to pick it up, then you get back to commenting, or you do something extravagant like I'm gonna respond to all the comments on this video, or you know, like because it's the one place where if they look up to someone, they might get a response from that person, and it's like once you do, you make their life. Like they'll tweet you for weeks being like, oh my god, I can't believe you responded to my comment. I think it's really cute.
Yeah, and I think Brittany still does it, and I used to do it a lot when I noticed that I was still discovering how to connect to my audience, and I started giving away things that are related to my brand, and I would always give away something at the end of the video. And that worked really well, and I know it's against the policy, I'm sorry. But that was great.
We don't like spamming, I found that out.
No, we don't like spam.
I know, because it was a joke.
Online
I know.
platform.
I don't know. I had this ongoing joke like spam me, and then it found that don't
We
do
don't like click
that.
fraud, and we don't like spam.
No, it wasn't. So if anything, I just thought it was funny because most people hated it. That I was like, just like spam me, and I was like, oh, they think So don't get people to spam.
A very time-effective thing I've learned that's also in the playbook that I picked up on is like the first 3 hours when you post a video, if you're like answering comments back, you you get a lot of play from that because everybody can see it, and so it's like the best bang for your buck, I think. Yeah,
What do you mean
first 3
everyone
hours.
can see it?
Well, everyone can see you commenting, their public comments to
Versus
people.
like 6 hours later you can't do it? Or?
Well, you can do it 6 hours later, but the most people are kind of, I find, like
You most
engaging
active
with
subscribers.
subscribers. Yeah, and you know, if you are individually answering people, you don't get as much of that.
Makes sense.
And also, I'll continually
PR.
over the days like pick a cute comment to respond to, and then like if you respond to like 3, then if they get some thumbs up, they'll stay, and then people see, oh my gosh, she's still responding. But I do it just because it's fun. But
Yeah. And then I had my mom, by the way, jump in my inbox, and she's addicted to it now. She's like, I make so many people's days.
Use your mom as an intern. That's the best.
I shouldn't say that. It's not always, just sometimes. Yeah.
Striped sweater.
Yeah, my question maybe sort of branches off of that. I was going to ask, we talked, or you guys were talking a lot about schedule in terms of like 1 a week, 2 a week. I'm wondering if there are times of day that even though in theory the whole thing about the web is that it's anytime, anywhere, any place, whether you actually find that sticking to like I post at noon Pacific on Tuesdays, that helps.
I think the best time to post, the time of the day is probably 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock in the morning, so then it's early afternoon on the East Coast, so you get this traffic going, and then, you know, England is watching it later, and, you know, it's kind of rolling. If you post later in the day, it doesn't do as well, I feel like. And as far as the days, I've been posting on Wednesdays all the time. Brittany posts on the weekend, and it's working really well for her. For me, I feel like everyone is dead on the weekend when it comes to online space.
I think it depends on your audience.
Yeah, maybe that too. And then Jenna Marbles posts on Wednesdays, and she's doing amazing. So I think it's just whatever works.
She's consistent. I think the theme is consistency.
Yeah.
And but like and I think think about your audience. If your audience is young kids, well, they're in school Monday through Friday. For me, like they're out of school on Saturday and Sunday, so it makes sense for me to post a video like just like their Saturday Sunday cartoons on Saturday or Sunday. But if you're you know, if your audience is targeted to a different, you know, group, your Monday morning people might really like something to watch on their lunch break. But I upload at 6 a.m. just because it's, you know, 9 a.m. on the East Coast, depending on the time changes. Just because, like, kids go to church, they have breakfast. I like to be like, I'm the first thing that's the routine that they'll go watch me before they do anything else.
I always see your email, and I'm like, what the heck is she up?
Yeah.
There is definitely, though, a couple of things. One is I would look at in your specific demo or your specific vertical, I'd look at your competition and make sure that you're not necessarily competing. I know that if you're doing a comedy show, you would look at what other big comedy people are doing, and you don't want to post exactly at the same time, because if you're trying to get to the homepage and trying to get noticed, then they're going to block you out. And so we've heard people do it that way. We do think that you've got whatever you post, pay extreme attention to the first 48 hours of that posting, because that's when your algorithm the YouTube algorithm will actually care about your video. Maybe 72, but it's a little bit delayed, but 48, and even in the first 10 hours, are going to be more important than the next 10 hours. And we've found a habit of two things. Weekends are really big for us. So they're actually almost, they used to be almost double. Now it's probably 20 to 35% higher. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then posting at midnight has really worked for us.
Because the gamer guys, they're playing.
Well,
yeah.
and it's just like, it's international. We have
That's
50% international, so it's a hard thing.
You have a huge Europe audience or Asia audience.
But we've moved like our live streaming 1 hour, and also we'll see a 50% jump. And it just depends on what.
Really look at your analytics. That's what those tools are.
Yes.
2 more questions. Whoa. He had him in the green, and then you, and then I'm sorry. Maybe if we have time, we'll see if we less.
Are most YouTube channels singular in subject matter? And I ask that because I noticed the Wall Street Journal launched a channel about 3 weeks ago, and they had 5 or 6 regular series on that channel. But from what I'm gathering, most of the channels, like your 3,000, it sounds like are singular in subject. It's like a channel is a show in essence. Is that right?
I wouldn't say so. I would say that, like the Wall Street, it's singular in brand and focus.
Yeah.
I think it's very important to be successful. You focus. We focused on one game when we launched on YouTube. We focused on one game, and then which was Halo at the time, and then we went into 3 games, and then we went into 5 games, then we became a more gamer. All in one channel.
Oh, I see.
Right, and then got enough audience. It's what your audience expects from you. So when the audience of the Wall Street Journal expects to see articles about a lot of different, or videos about a lot of different subjects that are, so it's a little bit different than someone that's saying, oh, I'm doing the joke of the day. Well, then it's the joke of the day, right? So
you have some channels which have multiple series.
Absolutely.
On that one channel.
But they have a very finite voice.
Yes,
okay.
Exactly.
It's like different playlists if you organize it that way.
But you have a lot of channels that are just one show, let's say.
Some,
okay.
yeah, and I think it's more of are you geared towards an audience, towards an audience and an affinity towards a vertical, right? So ours is gaming, comedy is a different one, but we have comedy inside of gaming, right? So we have stuff like, How It Should Have Ended Gaming, which is How It Should Have Ended was a different series, but it's basically a trailer of completely makes fun of the game and says, so it's a comedy approach, but still rooted in gaming, so it works. So yeah, I don't think there's any one answer to that. So I don't mean to confuse you, but you have to really think about your brand and what you're trying to offer.
I'm Frank Schindel, and I just want to say how cool it is that there are 3 women representing comedy. So the question is, how do you deal with the pressure of having to come up with so much original content, so many original ideas? How do you deal with the pressure, and how do you come up with the ideas?
It's like a muscle. I think the more you stretch it, the more like you could do it about anything. I could take this blue chair and make a video about it. Like you get to a point where no idea is wrong. Because I think at first the hardest thing about making YouTube videos is you censor yourself. Like you'll write something, you're like, oh, this is so funny. And then you're like, okay, I'm gonna shoot it tomorrow. And then you go to shoot it and you're like, ooh, is it still funny? Because it was funny yesterday, but I'm not sure if it was funny. And then you're shooting it and you get in your head, and then you're done with it and you're like, I didn't really like it, I knew it wasn't funny. Instead of just like, you learn to just do it.
That was
I think,
fun.
So I think that's the most important thing, is just to do it. Like, even if you liked it yesterday, do it. Like, even if today you're doubting it, I think that's the biggest thing, is you're going to be your own worst enemy. And I think the hardest part is just to get up and do it and be brave enough and be like, I don't, like those, you know, one of my acting teachers before said you have to collect a lot of no's before you get some yeses. So you're going to get a lot of people saying mean things for no reason. And at first it's like a knife in the heart. You're like, they don't like me. And then later on it's weird how like everything just rolls off of you. You don't even, it's just you do it because you love it, not because you're trying to please them or whatever.
And one of our, to echo that a little bit, one of our favorite people to talk about in the next slide when talking about this is Annoying Orange. So Dambo like was on YouTube for like almost 2 years, if not longer.
It was
maybe
longer.
He worked for Machinima in 2006.
Yeah.
And, like doing Mortal Kombat weird things.
Figuring out what format worked for him. And did, I mean, you go back and look on his channel, like tons of different shit, just throwing stuff at the wall and see what stuck, and Annoying Orange stuck, and now it's an empire. Like, it's amazing. But you're never gonna do it until you do it. And it's just about like, I mean, I've done things making series on YouTube where I challenged myself to make 100 videos in 100 days. And I just made a video every single day. Shot, edited, posted. And like, just to know that, okay, that's how you make 100 videos in 100 days. Like, tear that Band-Aid off. Like, just do it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, the
then
more you overthink
you get more disposable about your cuts,
yourself.
and you start, and it actually makes you a better editor, for me at least. I got way better at Final Cut.
Very decisive.
I was like, oh, don't like that. Done, done, done. Like, you know, you learn to be better at it and be more, you know, there is no one stopping you from uploading to YouTube.
Yeah.
Only you.
I think there are two interesting things there. One is, if someone said listen to your comments, I would take that with very, very carefully. Because comments are often just the really active 2,000 people when you're getting 50,000 views, and they're not indicative always of what the quality of the content is or what people are really feeling about the content. So I wouldn't take it. I mean, you should listen if every single person says this is terrible. It probably is. But then again, it's like the Scientology, bad press is still press. So but then you go. But to your point, in the 100 days, I think that's an interesting thing. Is if you try to create a theme out of everything you do, which is a good approach. Lists work, right? Top 10 this, top 10 that. So in anything you do, if you said, you go and say, I'm doing 100 videos in 100 days.
And we announced it.
And you announce it, then people expect that there's going to be some shit right in there, and then there's going to be some great stuff or some moments. We did a live stream for 25 days straight, nonstop, 24 hours a day. People were having Thanksgiving dinner. They were we shaved some kid's head, and it got to the point where people just said, "All right, it's not all entertaining, but we had 1.68 million hours watched over 25 days, and it was just like this thing where you say, I'll give you a chance to fail, and you're going to succeed sometime." And so to your point, it's just like go out there and do it and learn to fail a lot, because I think the audience is actually pretty forgiving as long as you come out with something good at some point.
And I think the more you do it, you're going to become a better director. If you're an actor, you become such a better actor. Like, I feel like actors in this town have such an injustice. Like, the camera is where you really learn. Like, being in front of the camera is where there's only so much you can learn, and then you have to put what you've learned into action. So I think everyone should make their own content and do it constantly, because it's like, if this is what you love and you're an actor, you need to create, and this is the one place where you can do it without anybody saying, you can't do that, or, I always say it's like a dancer. Like, no one's telling me that I can't dance. I can dance anytime I want. I'm not a very good dancer. No, I mean, but that's,
Well, thank you, everyone.